you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
This year we're going to grab the bull by the balls and kick those punks off campus.
Well, looks like the cows have come home to roost.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the entertainment.ie movie show brought to you by Odeon Cinemas. We have a competition this week. If you would like to win some passes to see a film of your choice in Odeon Cinemas, all you have to do is tell us who James Franco hosted the Oscars with. He co-hosted the Oscars before. Who did he host the Oscars with? Comment below if you're watching on Facebook. If you're listening on SoundCloud or on iTunes or anything, just go to our Facebook and comment below and you could win some Odeon passes. As always, I'm joined by Dima Lumby and Brian Lloyd. He's just telling us there he's gone vegan. He's given up meat. So for the month of January. So if you see Brian Lloyd,
emaciated,
and you see Brian, not just emaciated, but if you happen to work in a spa, a deli counter, or a restaurant or something like that, and he orders a steak, don't give it to him.
Would you be right now ordering a steak over the counter from a deli?
I don't know. Well, it's beef then, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
But I said a restaurant. If you go into a restaurant,
true, fair point. Yeah, fair point.
Like smack it out of his hand. Like you have our permission collectively.
Yeah.
To smack the steak out of his hand.
Yeah.
Like give it to him and let him be about to take a bite out of it. Do you know who's vegan?
Who?
The Happy Pear.
I didn't even realise that now.
Is this what you're doing? You're like emulating.
Yeah, they're my heroes. Yeah, like they're clearly my heroes. So I'm absolutely going to emulate my pals, the Happy Pear twins.
That's really where the inspiration came from, isn't it?
That's completely. Yeah. That is absolutely the inspiration for it. It was like
you'll be star jumping next, balancing on each other. Shirtless.
This is it. Like I was.
And all that crack, like.
Yeah, like we were out for our 6 o'clock morning swim outside of Greystones, and I was like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to try veganism, and the two guys in unison were like, that's great.
Do you know what I have to say about a Happy Pear I admire about them? Hairy. Don't mind it. You know, they don't try and wax the chest. They just let it all hang out, so to speak.
Yeah, but like,
and they make damn good pesto.
Do they?
They do.
They do.
They do.
Do they?
I have heard that.
They do.
Have they not let you try their pestos in one of your many meetups?
No, I have not tried the Happy Pear twins pesto yet, but I will now, obviously, because I'll be vegan for 1 month. And hopefully not kill anybody.
Don't sell him any meat. We get them at the bottom of the screen here. No meat for Brian. No meat. Okay, let's talk about films because that's why we're here.
True.
There's two really good films out this week. First of all, Dean, I know you've kind of got a quirky one you want to talk about as well. Off the bat, The Disaster Artist. Based on the making of The Room.
Yep.
Which is the worst film ever made. We've kind of talked about it a little bit on the show before. My kind of advice with The Room is look at the highlight reel on YouTube. It's a terrible film.
Yeah.
No, it's worth watching the whole thing.
I think,
the whole thing is gas.
It's
so gas.
I don't know. So, Brian, do you think people are going to go and find The Room now and up its box office?
Well, like, you see, to be honest, like, it's the kind of thing of, like, there isn't, you say The Room to somebody and there's a very good chance that they'll know what you're talking about. Either from
they'll
YouTube
think it's you think it's the Brie Larson film.
Yeah, they always think
No, that's it. More often.
They do think that one initially.
Initially, perhaps, yeah, maybe. But I think,
you know, The Room, that's hilarious. That wasn't hilarious. That was horrific.
The one where she's like trapped in a prison. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's great crack. No, but I think it's, you know, the fact that The Room has become.
I like that you found that funny as well. Like Brian actually found that funny. Last week it was the kids in suits. This week it's this. Like,
and I was
just
talking about.
Weird.
Anyways, I think The Room is more kind of, people are more aware of it than you may necessarily think. And you know, going into The Disaster Artist, my kind of thinking of it was. Okay, do you actually have to have seen The Room to get this film, or at least to understand it? And like, to be honest, like, I think it kind of benefits from seeing it, but you don't necessarily have to have seen it.
So for people who haven't seen The Room, it's Tommy Wiseau, kind of a strange character, claims he's in his 20s, he's brazenly in his 50s.
Yeah.
Claims he's from New Orleans. He's
clearly not.
Somewhere from the Middle East or
Eastern
Europe.
He admitted it.
Yeah. Oh, he's admitted it now.
Yeah, he was on Jimmy Kimmel last week, I think, with James Franco, and this was apparently the first time he ever admitted, I'm not from New Orleans, I'm from Europe.
Yeah.
But did you hear on the same show he was saying he's 30?
Yeah,
like,
he's
still
not. He is, like, that man is.
Is that what I mean? He was like 18 when. Yes, 15 when he made The Disaster Artist.
But he was saying
in
the movie, in The Disaster Artist, he was saying he was like 20 something. So it'd be 10 years on, so he would be 30 something.
So he's shy at maths as well as directing films.
I don't know. I mean, like, what I will say about the film is that I was going into it fully expecting it to completely take the piss out of the making of The Room, because I mean, you watch the film and it's so crazy, the real film, it's so crazy that you're kind of like, how can you possibly make this serious without it being a kind of like just capturing the weirdness of it all, you know. But it's what's really interesting about the film I found was that it's not necessarily about the making of The Room. It's about how, you know, Greg Sestero, who's played by Dave Franco, he's this person who, like, look, I really want to be creative, but I am kind of hamstrung by my own fears, and like, what if people don't like it, and what if people hate me, and it's
He's
really
self-aware.
yeah, exactly, being really, really self-aware. And the film is kind of a celebration of, look, even if it is crap, just own it and kind of engage with it and kind of, you know, allow yourself to be creative. Even if you think it is crap, it's still being creative. It's still its own reward. Now, at the same time as well, like, I was kind of hoping they'd go into the kind of, like, because there's tons of urban myths about Tommy Wiseau and how he got the money together to
There's
make
like
the
$5
film.
or $6 million budget or something like that.
Yeah,
isn't it, to
yeah.
put it
It's
together?
rumored that it was something like over 6 million. Yeah, yeah. And
When
you're
you
like,
see
what?
it, you're like,
Where did that money go?
where did he put it in?
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk about Disaster Artist. We talked
Yeah.
enough about Wiseau. Is it funny? Did you find it funny? I've
Yeah.
seen it as well.
I thought it was really
I saw
funny.
it last night, actually.
Oh, did you see it
Yeah.
last
All
night
right,
as
okay,
well?
well then,
Yeah.
well then I found it very funny. I think it really kind of captured the weirdness of it. I thought Dave Franco and James Franco's performances were both really strong.
Dave Franco, I like Dave Franco a lot. I think
Yeah.
he's deadly. He's just a straight man. Like, that's not a strong
Yeah, but it
performance.
worked. But
There's
it
nothing
worked.
wrong with
But that's the point.
It
He's
worked
meant to
for
be the
this
straight
film.
man.
Yeah.
But he's just like wide-eyed and like, yeah.
But that's it meant to be it, though. Like, he's meant to be the straight man to Tommy Wiseau's weirdo. That's the whole point. And by him being completely straight and being like, what's going on here, and being that kind of oblivious to it, it accentuates James Franco's performance. Like, one complements the other.
Didn't go on a journey though. You know, he needs to go on a
Yeah.
journey. Come out the other side, learn
Yeah.
some things. Am I
I mean,
right,
it
Dee?
was definitely, there was more focus on Tommy Wiseau and James Franco and his character, and that for me, I don't know. I really liked this movie, and I found it really, really funny, and I thought it had a really strong start.
Yeah.
For me, it kind of lost a bit of pacing when it kind of got a bit serious, and it was looking at the tragedy of Tommy Wiseau's character, really,
Yeah.
and kind of painting him as this really kind of sad man who just like was putting like all his life, all of his passions into this movie, you know, and kind of painting it as like a really sad story. And I was like, no, bring back the comedy. That made me
Let's all laugh
laugh.
at him.
But that kind of gives it a bit of an edge, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, that gives it like the
Yeah.
emotional core of the film, that he's like this kind of very clearly has some sort of personality issues, or has some sort of like
But he's probably
Yeah.
just really, really like
oblivious
insecure and oblivious.
yeah. But again, that's interesting. Like, there's your journey. Like, you kind of think that he's this sort of like, you know, weird, mysterious figure, but it turns out he's actually just this really flawed, insecure person.
Is that
who-
his real name? That's probably why people can't find anything on him. It's probably not his real name.
And-
All
and-
American. I'm
all
all
part of the
American looking guy.
And that's
All part of the enigma.
Yeah, and the other part of it, and this is the part that I not necessarily dislike, but I was kind of like, oh, I hope you can. They don't explain anything about it. As in, they don't explain where he got the money from. They don't explain.
But they probably don't know. That's
Well,
it.
that's just it,
Franco
but you would-
probably couldn't get it out of him.
Yeah,
I'd say.
and
He wanted
like-
Johnny Depp to play him anyway, didn't he?
Yeah, like, that's, you know, dodged a bullet there, I think. But no, it's just it's interesting in a way of exploring, you know, creativity, and also as well the fact that, you know, this film, like, how it got made.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of way, like, just the craziness that went on behind the scenes. Like, he built a toilet in the middle of the set and like made sure that no one else was allowed to use it, you know, that kind of way. And he was also
Without
using,
a door, but like he's
yeah,
just
with like a little,
curtain
curtain
with like a little
around
curtain
there.
thing, yeah. And like, he had like a behind the scenes crew follow him around everywhere, and then follow all the cast around everywhere,
Yeah.
and then he watched them back and was like, "Oh, I know you were talking about me. Like, I know you were making fun of me." This kind of, it's like, it's just weird.
The highlight for me in this, and it's a strange one because it's very much a supporting role, but I feel like Franco's kind of leaned towards him a good bit, him and Evan Goldberg, in
Yeah.
terms of how they segued into directing films, is Seth Rogen,
Yeah.
who's got, and I've said it before as well as I said it to you guys before. You can tell somebody's got talent, especially comedic talent, with how they deliver really straightforward lines sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's a scene in this, and it's really not a big scene at all. It's very much a throwaway scene. But Rogan goes into a bank to cash a
Yes.
check, and he can't believe he's like, "Oh, that like
He was
that
like,
cleared."
This, like, he fully expecting it to bounce, like.
And
Yeah.
it's a little moment, and I was like, Seth Rogen just made that funnier, infinitely
Yeah.
funnier,
Yeah.
and that's why he Seth Rogen. And it just made me wish there was more of him, and there was more of that stuff in it, because, you know, he brings the comedy whenever he's
he
on
has
screen.
a lot of those kind of moments, just like kind of little throwaway lines. Like, he'll just have one or two lines in a whole scene, and they'll be really, really laugh out loud
Yeah.
funny. He is just kind of naturally really good at comedy, like you said.
So you would both recommend. I watched this with you on a screen, and
Yeah.
and like it was a kind of an evening screen, and you were like, and people were laughing. You were like, it's not that funny.
Yeah, no,
But
like
still
it had
gives
its
it 4
moments.
stars.
Yeah. No, it had its moments. Like it was very, very funny in parts. I just don't laugh a lot on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Like, it was funny for me. The experience was, I went to see it like last night. It was kind of a preview because it's only out today, sure. But definitely the people around me in the audience who'd gone to it had seen The Room, and
Yeah.
I could tell because when James Franco has that first Tommy Wiseau laugh, everyone in the
Crack.
audience
Oh, because he
cracked up
nails it.
laughing.
Like,
He has the
it's
exact
just
laugh.
going to be interesting to see how well it plays broadly.
That's true.
I think
yeah.
it'll do
Yeah.
well. I think it'll
Yeah.
do really well. Like there's a lot of interest
Yeah,
for.
there was definitely a lot of laughter when I went to it, so I think it will do well.
It's
yeah.
doing quite well at the box office in terms of per screen averages and all that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to find a broader audience. That just means people who like The Room are probably going to go and see it, or people who are enthralled by The Room in some way or another are going to go and see it.
Yeah.
Briefly, Dee, we want to talk about Mark Hamill's got a big film out next week that you're going to review for us, not
Yes.
Brian. We're going to send you to the press screening.
Yeah.
Look at his little face, you big
Yeah.
nerd.
You should actually go see it, because if you like Mark Hamill, and I think this is your kind of movie because it's kind of got
I
this
thought we were
weird
talking about Star Wars for a
sci-fi
second there. I was
element.
like, you should go see Star
No,
Wars.
no.
You should go see
It's a good film. You love it.
What's this film called, Dee?
So it's called Brigsby Bear, and it's a weird kind of small independent movie. There's not really been much like promotion and stuff about it, I suppose, maybe because there are so many big movies out at the moment, like, you know, Star Wars, that are taking away this attention, and you know, there are the family movies like Paddington 2 and stuff, but this is like a really nice kind of indie comedy that's really, really funny, that's really kind of unlike anything I've ever seen before. Just to give you like a basic rundown of the story, Kyle Mooney, who we were talking about before, he's an SNL regular, plays this man who lives with his parents, this really kind of isolated, insular life. You don't know exactly what's happened. There seems to be some kind of cult that's formed after the apocalypse. You don't know what's going on, but every evening he sits down to watch this show, Brigsby Bear Adventures, which he's the biggest fan of ever. He's all the t-shirts, all the memorabilia, but suddenly something happens. I can't say what because you have to go into this movie blind, and suddenly Brigsby Bear Adventures end. So everything, like kind of the biggest thing that forms like joy in his life really is gone. So he wants to give Brigsby Bear this kind of big send-off, and it's just a really good feel-good movie. You know, we were talking last week about The Man Who Invented Christmas and Wonder, and this is similar along those lines in that it is a little cheesy, a bit schmaltzy, but so feel-good and lovely, and you will leave the cinema just beaming after this. So I'd recommend go seek it out,
And
watch
Luke
it.
Skywalker's in it.
Yeah, and Mark Hamill's in it, and he's great. I can't talk too much about his role in it, but Mark Hamill fans will be like, oh my god, Mark Hamill's doing that,
I
yay!
believe he favoured a tweet of yours once, Brian.
He did, and you know what? It was a really big moment, and I'm not gonna lie. Like it's just,
Look at his face.
I just
so
like no, but
excited.
seriously, like it was just like it was, yeah, like, and it was like when Carrie Fisher died. Like I got really upset over. Like I got really, really upset. Like just, it'd be like if like Joe Rogan just suddenly like favoured. Okay, you've interviewed him before. Then I don't know.
Joe Rogan, like,
Okay, not Joe Rogan. Like
fanboy.
if
Brian's just thinking MMA. What can I do? Where
Yeah.
can I go with
Do
this?
you know
I don't know
what?
anybody's actual name.
yeah, there you go, one of them or something like that. Keanu Reeves. When you interviewed Keanu Reeves for John Wick Chapter 2, and that was a big. You were like. John Wick. But yeah, like it's like that, like you know that kind of thing. So it's just shut up about it, alright?
All right, nerd. Anyway, we're going to move on now because neither of you guys have seen this one.
No, stronger.
Stronger, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you're kind of talking about people who you're a huge fan of, and I'd be a huge fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. Just, I think, in terms of his ability as an actor and the choice of roles that he's made, probably since Donnie Darko. Like every kind of choice, or a lot of the choices he's made since Donnie Darko, have been kind of reflective of that role and a kind of off kilter.
Yeah.
Then, you know, with the exception of Prince of Persia, which just didn't work.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see why he wanted to do it. And the other thing is Boston set movies. This is based on the true story of Jeff Bonham, who was at the finish line during the Boston bombing and lost both his legs and was part of that kind of iconic photograph getting pushed away in a wheelchair. And it's based on his book. It's kind of like it's tragic, but it's also funny. It's uplifting and all those other kind of. But one thing I just want to say. Boston movies now are kind of a parody of themselves. Everybody does the global hunting thing. Everybody does the padded, the get in the car thing. So from the start,
You're kind of going in with the visor up, like
you're kind of going in going, they're a little bit against it here, you know. And I think one movie that did it really well, and it's probably because the director and the cast are from Boston, is Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah.
I just think Ben Affleck just did an incredible job of painting a very realistic, organic picture of Boston. And this, for everything else that goes on in the film, this is one of the most effortless types of those movies that I've ever seen. It just never feels like it's trying too hard. And for a movie that could very easily veer into bravado and air punching and that kind of blue collar patriotism that you just see everywhere in the
Which
US
we've kind
now.
of seen even with like Only the Brave in the last few weeks, you know, a few earlier this year,
Because that stuff plays. You know, that stuff plays to audiences. But when you've got a character who obviously has layers and nuance, like Jeff doesn't, you know, he's not he's not a hero, and that's something that the film looks at particularly well. He's like, people come over, do you want to shake his hand? And he's like, why do you want to shake my hand? Because I got my legs blown off.
Like, that's
But he actually, when he was in this hospital bed, he came to, he was able to give the FBI a description of one of the bombers, and that kind of led to them, one of them being captured, and one of them being killed, and one of them being captured. So he kind of was as well, and it's him as kind of a casual fuck up. You know, like, you know, never really turning up for anything. And that's where the film sets off from, is that he's saying to this girl he's crazy about, I'm going to turn up this time, and goes to the finish line of the marathon. And then obviously the explosion happens just as she's about to come up. And it's a really lovely core relationship at the start.
Who is the girl, actually?
I can't remember her name, but she's fantastic. She's in, is it Outlander or something like that? She's really good. And she's
the Irish one from Outlander?
No. It's not Outlander. I think I probably just made that up. I was thinking on the fly. But she's great. She's obviously got like guilt from him coming to the finish line to see her and that happening to him. So I loved it. I really liked it. And the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, the more I liked it. And the biggest shame here is that it's not making any money in the US. So Gyllenhaal, like Jake Gyllenhaal, probably won't get an Oscar nomination for it. Miranda Richardson plays his mom. I didn't recognize her at all. Nails the accent. Probably won't get a nomination for it. And that's what's upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, because I was gonna say, because like it was kind of the same problem with Patriots Day, but the Peter Berg one with Mark
based
Wahlberg.
on the same explosion.
Same explosion. But the problem that I had with Patriots Day, I don't know about you, any of you saw it, but like, it was really close. It was very close in time to the actual explosions. You know, that kind of way. And there was a part of it that I was watching. It was like, is this not a bit exploitative? You know, that kind of way. Is this not kind of like trying to churn this out quickly? Like,
I know the scene you talk about. Like, I think that's Patriots Day was kind of sporadically affecting.
Yeah,
it did work. I think Peter Berg's a very good director, particularly with that kind of stuff. Mark Wahlberg's, you know, the most Boston of Boston in terms of actors. So he was the right guy to be in it. It's just his role in that film as the cop wasn't a big role. There wasn't a whole lot going on. And I know the scene you're talking about is like there was a small kid, there was a child killed during the bombing, and Berg kind of just he leans on it an awful lot. In terms of get that reaction from the audience. You know, this is Stronger is just subtle. There's a real subtlety to it, and David Gordon Green, he was like kind of an incredible director.
It's kind of so random because he went from because I was looking at his IMDb the other day, I was just curious. He went from like Pineapple Express and Your Highness.
Underrated, Your Highness. Only person to like that film. Sorry.
But to like these kind of dramas that, well, like you said, there are some comedic. You said there's some kind of dark comedy moments
the first thing Jeff Bonham does is make a joke, like somebody sitting on the bed and he's like, you're sitting on my legs. The first thing he does when he wakes up. And that's the thing, people know, I know guys like this guy who would make that joke, who have that kind of black humor, and that's what I'm saying. But he is
but it works in the movie, and I mean, he's got Halloween next and everything, so he's a really, really interesting director, I have to say.
He's a very interesting director, and I mean, he's Voice Principals as well, and Kenny Powers. You know, he's done some really interesting TV stuff.
He was meant to do the remake of Suspiria.
Yeah.
And now it's the guy who did Call Me By Your Name.
Oh, that's interesting stuff.
Luca Good. David Shaughnessy, how do you pronounce his name?
Just scream off that.
Guadcano, the director of Call Me By Your Name. Luca.
I'm so glad we... See the way that rolled. See the way that rolled off the tongue there. David Shaughnessy will be filling in next week because I'm off to New York. So these two are going to stop existing. Everybody in this room is going to stop existing as soon as that camera goes off.
Are you sad you're going to miss the Star Wars talk?
No, not at all.
I feel like you've actually planned this so you wouldn't have to be here.
Do you know why, Brian? Right? Why? And I'm going to tell you this, and then we're going to go. Right? Do you know why? Because it's overrated. It's an overrated franchise. It's an overrated genre. It's got a bunch of overrated characters. It's the whole thing. It's like, it's like space opera, right? There's been like 15 films. I'm sick of it at this stage. You want to make another spin-off? Like another spin-off?
Spin-off of the spin-off?
Spin-off of a spin-off. Is that what they're going to do, Brian?
You really upset him.
Have I upset you?
Don't cry,
I'm just, you know what? I'm going to take the high road here, okay? I'm going to take the
You're going to take the high road and give Star Wars 5 stars so you can get on the poster? Know where you're at. Went there.
Taking the high
I'm only
road.
joking. I actually really like the Phantom Menace. I really like the Phantom Menace. I thought it was great fun. Is that what it's called?
Do you know what? I'm not getting
No, which
into
is the last? No, which one was the last one?
The
Rogue
Force
One.
Awakens.
The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That's the one I liked. That was good. The J.J. Abrams one.
Yeah.
That's what. His face. You
I'm
have
not getting into it. I am
You have to
not
be able to.
getting,
You
I
have to be
am
able to like
not going to get into this
zoom
'cause
in on his face. Just for,
I am
just
not.
for the pain.
I am not getting into this because we'll be here all day, and I feel like the show's running over already. So enjoy New York. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say enjoy New York. I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to say enjoy New York. And
There's a bit of malice behind that enjoy New York, wasn't there? There's a little bit of like, I hope you don't enjoy New York because you like Star Wars.
No. Enjoy New York, and we'll see you when you get back.
I really
All right, we'll see you when you get
I
back.
genuinely mixed up the Phantom Menace with the Force Awakens. I just completely forgot what it was called. Like
They all have kind of wanky names like that.
they do,
so.
they do. But anyway,
Sorry,
David Shock
it's
is
true.
hosting next week, so he can listen to your shit. I'm joking. So you know what's on next week anyway. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Charlotte Reed in production, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. DC will see you next week.